Welcome to another life transforming video. In our last video, we look at those forces that helps one to live a life of consecration. And in our today's video, we're looking at those forces that hinders one from living a life of consecration. And the number one force we're looking at is your inability to make that decision of living a life of consecration. That is your personal decision. We have to come to the point at which we take that personal decision to live a life of consecration, a life of holiness. So our inability of taking that decision becomes a force that hinders us from living a life of consecration, that hinders us from living a life of holiness, that hinders us from living a life of sanctification. We have to come to the point in our life that we make decisions like Daniel. Daniel proposed in his heart not to define himself with the king's meal or the king's wine. So it is very important we come to the point in our life that we take that personal decision in order to us to live a life of consecration. And then number two is the force of prayerlessness. The moment there is prayerlessness, it affects our life of consecration. It affects our journey of sanctification. Because Jesus Christ speaking, he said, the devil has planned to sweep you like chaff, but I have prayed for you that you will not fall into temptation. Jesus Christ did not say he will advise, but say he have prayed so that you will not fall into temptation. So prayer is very, very important. The moment there's lukewarmness in your prayer life, then the journey of consecration becomes questionable. The road path of consecration, of sanctification becomes questionable. If you want to have a smooth run when it comes to consecration, when it comes to sanctification, when it comes to the life of holiness, we must be prayerful. So the force that hinders one from living a life of consecration, from living a life of sanctification, is the force of prayerlessness. And the third force we'll be looking at in this video is the force of we being unable to separate ourselves. We must come to that point in our life that we have to separate ourselves from every other thing. We have to separate ourselves. Come out from among them and be ye separate, and touch no unclean thing then. I will call you my son and my daughter. For you not to touch any unclean thing, the first thing you need to do is to separate yourself. So our inability to separate ourselves becomes a force that hinders us from living a life of consecration. And the next force we'll be looking at is when we start pampering sin, it becomes a force that hinders us from living a life of consecration. So we must come to the point in our life that we refuse to pamper sin. We must come to the point in our life that we must refuse to pamper sin. According to his word in Timothy, he said, flee from every appearances of sin. So we must flee from every appearances of sin. We must stop pampering sin. And the last force we'll be looking at in this video is your company. Your company matters a lot for you to live a life of consecration, for you to live a life of sanctification. It's an iron sharpened iron. So the countenance of one brethren sharpened the countenance of the other brethren. The company you find yourself can either help you in the aspect of living a life of consecration or push you away from the life of consecration. God bless you for listening to this. I believe in one way it has affected you positively. Like, share, and subscribe.